All right, let's break it down in our players' room. Lige, Douzable, Bryant, McFadden in to offer their insights. Guys, again, it's the 49ers taking down a team in a physical matchup. I mean, I just want to get up to this Philly 49ers matchup, speaking of physicality. But let's get into this one here. The Dallas Cowboys not doing enough here offensively, nor really did San Francisco. What's your headline out of this game, Mac, and one that was hard to feel out until about the final 15 minutes?
The smartest, the cleanest quarterback won this ball game.
Okay.
Because when you look at the stats, clearly, like you said, Joe, both defenses, they performed. They were spectacular in limiting opportunities from the opposing offense. But the tailing card in regards to this ball game was the turnovers from Dak Prescott. The first turnover in the first half, a costly mistake. First quarter, it was clearly some communication issues between Dak and the wide receiver. And then the second interception in the red zone. You cannot do that. You're in a prime position, regardless of the concerns with your kicker, to put something on the scoreboard. And at that time, points were coming at a premium. It wasn't about scoring touchdowns. It was hard to get field goals on the scoreboard. And it was just a bad throw right before halftime at that. Right before halftime, if I'm not mistaken, in the second quarter. And then the Cowboys were getting the football right out of halftime as well. So when you look at the stat sheet, when you look at both quarterbacks, they're not going to blow you away. But when you look at Brock Purdy, 19 of 29, 214, 0 turnovers.
Yeah, protected the football, and here we look at it. Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, their seasons come to a close on the same day. Now, Prescott did it in 4 fewer games, but those two leading the league in interceptions this season. I was trying to give out some flowers. Mac was ready to point some fingers, so let's keep doing it, dudes. We watched this Dallas offense and sort of the roller coaster that's been over the last few weeks. You see a spotty performance to end the season. You see maybe the best Dak Prescott we've ever seen the week to follow, and then 2 giveaways early in this one. What'd you make of it all?
Yeah, to me, when Tony Pollard went out, that's what really hurt this Dallas Cowboys offense. Because from that point, B-Mac and Moose, literally, what was their game plan? To me, it just seemed like they were going to screen CeeDee Lamb to death just to get him the ball in open field. Now, he did have that big catch in one-on-one coverage over Lenoir, but besides that, the offense was anemic. Talking about Dallas's plan, I don't understand. After San Francisco took that lead and Dallas stopped them again and got the ball back with just under 2 minutes, right over 2 minutes. I think it was 2:59 on the clock. Why not come out and try to run the ball, right? The game wasn't out of balance. You were down by 1 score. You had all 3 timeouts, 2+ minutes on the clock. Why would you put your quarterback in that position, Kellen Moore, to come out and just throw the ball all around the field, knowing he already threw those 2 interceptions that B-Mac talked about? So when Tony Pollard went down, because they were able to actually get the run game going when he was in, they brought in extra offensive linemen, brought Collins in. They were running the ball downhill at that San Francisco 49er defense. Were able to get CeeDee Lamb going across the middle. But once Tony Pollard went out, because he's their home run threat, the offense became anemic.
Perception and reality, always 2 different things. And we've perceived this 49ers team to be a defensive juggernaut, but offensively, 6 of their last 7 games prior to this one, it was 30+ points. And I only offer that because they're held to 19 in this spot by a Dallas defense, B-Mac, as you put it, that did their job. Is there a playbook out there for the Philadelphia Eagles right now? How did they limit this 49ers offense so effectively?
Well, we didn't see a lot in regards to the rushing game from San Francisco. That has really been one of the things they've been able to hang their hat on, running the football either with Deebo Samuel, CMC, Mitchell, whoever it is in the backfield. They've been really, really successful in running the football. So what the Cowboys did was they exercised proper gap integrity. Everybody was doing what they're supposed to do in regards to hats in the right gap and being able to keep containment. When you talk about this offense, especially with so many zone options, they love to break containment in regards to running the football. The Cowboys did a great job in making sure they forced everything inside and not allowing their explosive runners to get outside of containment to make things happen, similar to what we saw last week in the first round of the playoffs against the Seattle Seahawks. So if you leave the Philadelphia Eagles, number one, if you can control the game within the game, which is in the trenches, and keep everything inside, not allowing them to break containment, you may have success, but in totality, they still found a way to get the job done. So hats off to the Dallas Cowboys defense, because I felt like they played good enough to win this ball game, but unfortunately, it's a total team effort, and they did not have that.
Yeah, the thing you have to understand about this Kyle Shanahan offense, gives you so much eye candy before the snap, a lot of pre-motion, but it's simple plays. And we saw this earlier in the game. This Dallas defensive line kind of took over this game. They tried to get a simple screen pass to Deebo Samuel, but Michael Parsons blew it up. He took away Deebo Samuel's, so Brock Purdy had nowhere to go. He had to eat the ball and take a sack. You talked about it, B-Mac. the game was won in the trenches as far as the Dallas Cowboys being able to contain this San Francisco offense. Brock Purdy, we're just accustomed to him throwing over 260 yards, maybe 300 yards, but they got after that offensive line. And then in the run game, where I thought they would be susceptible, because that's where they've been susceptible this year as far as being able to get some yardage on them via the run game. Those boys up front, whether it was Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence had a hell of a game in the run game. Those D tackles, Carlos Watkins inside, Jonathan Hankins, those guys were man amongst boys in this run game. We know that San Francisco likes to run the ball downhill. Now, they really got that going with Elijah Mitchell in the second half, but in that first half, man, that Dallas defensive line, they stood tall. So if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, right, you've been susceptible to giving up some run plays as well, but they played really well yesterday versus the New York Giants. They got another test coming in to a team that likes to be really physical and run the ball downhill. They got to have those guys at the defensive front. They got to stand up big.
I do want to get into that matchup. We will in a moment, but I think we do have to offer a couple thoughts here on Brock Purdy, still undefeated as the starting quarterback of this 49ers football team. And I get it, all the tools around him, the defense to help, but you celebrate the wins and you own the losses as the quarterback. He becomes just the 5th rookie that'll be starting on a conference championship Sunday. The prior 4 all lost. So this is usually when that storybook tale comes to an end. Conference title Sunday, Mac. You asked the question upstairs, so I'm going to ask it in front of all these people. Can you win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy when you look at the opponent in front of them and then the 2 possible opponents on the other side?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because the animal in the Philadelphia Eagles, that is a different beast. That is a beast that's in its own cage. They faced off against a talented team, especially on the defensive side, the Dallas Cowboys, but that beast is with the other beasts in population. The Eagles, they're in their own cage, and if you get into the cage with them, you better be prepared for a fight. And the concern that I have with Brock Purdy, hats off for the job he's been able to do thus far. But going on the road in a championship-like setting, meaning one game can get you to the Super Bowl, and you're playing against the best in the world in your conference, you're going to have to do more than what we saw today. Then when you factor in his defense, who has been an outstanding group, they're playing against probably one of the more talented, balanced offenses in the National Football League. They have a guy who is at the quarterback position who is a +1 in the running game that you don't necessarily account for because he plays the quarterback position. And they don't mind going in a back alley and fighting it out the old school way. So the talent, when you look at San Francisco, they've always been the cream of the crop in regards to the talent going against the team they're facing off against. The Eagles, they might be the most talented team in the league.
That could be the case. And when you take a look at that Eagles team, they're the only new guy at the party. The Final Four Conference Championship Sunday going to feature all the same teams as last season, except the Rams swapping out for those Eagles, and maybe it'll be that team hoisting the Lombardi once again. Talk to me about that beast, Deuce, as you take an early look at this matchup. Where's the game going to be won and lost? Because in a lot of ways, it's kind of like looking in a mirror when you look at the physicality these 2 football teams left in the NFC.
I think this has been the theme of the weekend, Moose and B-Mac, the trenches. If you don't have those guys up front, you have no chance to win the game. We saw what the Cincinnati Bengals did up front on both sides of the ball to the Buffalo Bills. We saw what the Eagles did to the Giants on both sides of the ball. The thing I want to look at early, preview to this game, is that RPO game for the Philadelphia Eagles puts you in such a bind. That run-pass option. We saw Dallas Goedert have a big game versus New York Giants. That's the matchup I'm going to watch because Xavier McKinney struggled in that matchup. Will they put Jimmy Ward, who is the safety that they move into the slot, will they put him on Goddard in that RPO? And then you talked about it, B-Mac, that +1 with Jalen Hurts. How healthy is he truly right now? We did see him run for a touchdown last week for the Giants, but we also saw him go down on some slides early. The old Jalen Hurts would drop that shoulder. So I think with this physical matchup that he's going to face with the San Francisco 49ers, he's going to have to do like Trevor Lawrence did yesterday versus Chiefs. He's going to have to drop his shoulder a few times. So it really tests that shoulder early in that game and that run pass option and some of those zone reads. But B-Mac talked about it. This is going to be physical on physical. Good on good with the Philadelphia offensive line versus San Francisco offensive line, and adversely the same thing with that Philadelphia defensive line that will get after the quarterback versus that San Francisco offensive line. We saw Mike McGlinchey struggle a little bit with Michael Parsons. Son Reddick was a man amongst boys yesterday versus Giants. That's going to be a matchup to really watch.
And that's what I'm looking for in regards to this matchup. The Eagles in the regular season had 70 sacks. They had 3 guys that had double-digit sacks. Think about that. Think about that production. And you're playing against a rookie quarterback who was a third stringer weeks ago. Now he's been elevated to the starting quarterback and has done a real good job. But putting pressure on Brock Purdy is a plus. And if they're able to do that, we don't know how the young quarterback will respond, because luckily enough for him, he's been able to be well protected in the games he's been involved in. Granted, they got after him a little bit today, but the pass rush that he saw today in San Francisco is nowhere close to the pass rush he will see in Philadelphia. So will that offensive line unit that has been performing mightily so far this season be able to do what they're supposed to do to protect their quarterback? Because one thing I know about quarterbacks, I don't care how good you are, when you're getting faced with pressure, consistent pressure, it will make you look below average. And we've seen that week in and week out. And if they can protect him, Brock Purdy might do some pretty good things. If they don't, look out. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Hey, that's the game, fellas. You got to rush the guy, you got to protect the guy, and you got to have the guy.
Yeah.
We'll see if Brock Purdy can be the guy in the NFC title game. But once again, we got to put a bow on the star as Dallas' season comes to a close, short of the ultimate goal for the umpteenth season. You know, they're still not in that upper echelon of teams just yet. They played some really good football games. They made some big mistakes. They withstood their starting quarterback being out for a stretch of this season. Dudes, I'm going to come your way first here. What's the missing piece when you're looking at the Dallas Cowboys, keeping them from that upper echelon of teams?
I think they need to get another explosive weapon on the outside to go with CeeDee Lamb now. We thought Michael Gallup coming back from the Achilles injury would be that guy. And we saw spurts of him having some of that success he had early in his career. But B-Mac can speak to this. When you're coming off that Achilles, it usually takes you another year to really, truly be that guy. So we'll see where he's at next year. But like I said, when Tony Pollard went out of the game, and then you also worry about what that injury is like. He's supposed to be a free agent this year. What do they intend to do with him? Supposedly there's rumors that they may franchise tag him. You worry about that ankle injury because that was an ugly tackle out there. But if you're the Dallas Cowboys, it comes back to the quarterback as well, Dak Prescott. Can he get you over the hump? Or have you reached your ceiling when it comes to Dak Prescott and how far he can take this team? Because you got all the pieces on defense. You got a true number one. You have a true number one running back in Tony Pollard. Got a really good offensive line. Tyler Smith was a guy that was kind of supposed to be brought along slow. He ended up being probably one of their best, if not best, offensive linemen. I mean, Zach Martin obviously is their best guy, but Tyler Smith, for a rookie to come in to play left tackle, to play left guard, and be able to swing back and forth, you have a really good player in that position. You got Steele coming back at the right tackle position. So you have a really good offensive line. The thing is, can your quarterback elevate you to the Super Bowl? This year he wasn't able to do it. That's going to be the question all offseason for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'll start right there at the quarterback position for the Dallas Cowboys. We know Dak Prescott, he can be more than a serviceable quarterback, but we also realize that he can give you a bunch of oh-no moments. Think about last week and how good he looked. See, that's the issue when you talk about Dak Prescott, to whom much is given, much is expected. He's receiving a big-time payday to look more like the quarterback we saw last week against Tampa than today against the 49ers. And I understand the San Francisco 49ers, they're a much better defensive unit than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But, okay, who cares? When you're in this moment, it's your job to come through and bring home the groceries by any means necessary. And that's the issue. When you look at the other teams outside the San Francisco 49ers currently still in the playoffs, Jalen Hurts has developed to be a proven go-getter. He can go get you some groceries. Joe Burrow, he can go get you some groceries in the most coolest way possible. Pat Mahomes, leave him alone. Don't even say anything about him being mad. Dak Prescott has to be able to get to that level because we've seen glimpses of, wow, oh, he got it. Then we see glimpses, Kevin, home alone. Kevin! Like, what we doing? That's the issue because they have everything else. Like, I agree, dudes, they got to bring back Pollard. Hopefully he's healthy. He's the most explosive player on their team. Secondary-wise, they got to get healthy. Remember, they were dealing with a lot of injuries in the secondary, specifically speaking, the cornerback position. They got guys that can rush the passer, D-Law, of course, Parsons, add a few pieces here or there, but they're right there. They just got to get consistent, high-level play from the quarterback. If you ever want to get close to hoisting that sticky Lombardi, you got to have a guy at the quarterback position that can go get groceries anytime, by any means necessary. Right now, Dak Prescott, he's not guaranteed to get you the groceries.
Max talking produce. You got a produce if you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see if that's the case
right there.
in the years to come. But the season ends here and now, fellas. Thank you as always as we take a look at the most conference championship games in NFL history. The Niners heading to their 18th, their third in the last 4 seasons. Those Steelers been to a few, I think, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, those Steelers been to a few. Mac knows.
You see it right there.
Cowboys 16. Stuck on 16 after the loss here on Sunday, and they will remain stuck for at least 12 more months. We'll see if it changes next season, but that is a season for the Dallas Cowboys. Niners moving on to take on the Eagles in the NFC title game.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.